Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to BCom. I'm Professor Martin. I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in. In our video today, we're going to take a look at run-on sentences, another very common problem people have in their writing. This video is a part of a series on grammar basics where we cover a few fundamentals that you need to be familiar with in order to be an effective written communicator. Now, your book has all kinds of great reference material in the appendix. If it's been a while since you have thought about grammar, or you didn't really care for it the first time you took it, back in your English class days, you may want to make a note of where that information is at. Now, for me, my grammar textbook was one of the few books I didn't sell off for Taco Bell money when I was an undergrad. I still have mine. I got it right here, the Holt Handbook. Circa 1998. Y'all, I'm talking nearly 900 pages of grammar. Yeah, isn't that great? We'll put that right there for now. Anyhow, we have run-on sentences awaiting, so let's get started. In our effort to conquer the run-on, we have two goals here. We need to learn to identify a run-on and be able to fix it and correct it. And by the time we're done with the video, hopefully you are a pro at both. So what exactly is a run-on sentence? It's when we throw two or more independent clauses, you remember that term from our last video, two or more independent clauses into one sentence without separating the two with either a coordinator or a semicolon. And remember, an independent clause is a complete sentence that is capable of standing on its own without any help. Now here's an example of a run-on. Tommy considered getting a job. He also thought about applying to graduate school. Man, it sounds okay when we say it, but when we write it out, it becomes a run-on sentence. As you can see, we have two separate independent clauses here. Tommy considered getting a job, and he also thought about applying to graduate school. Both are capable of standing on their own. But when you tuck them into the same sentence like we see here, it boogers it up. Luckily, fixing a run-on is fairly easy. If we're going to fix a run-on, we have to divide the independent clauses. We can do that with a comma and a coordinator, like and, or, not, or but, like you see in our first corrected example here. We can also use a semicolon to separate the two clauses, as you see in our second corrected example. Now, I'm not the biggest semicolon fan in the world. I usually opt for the coordinator, like in example 1 right here, or I just make two separate sentences out of it, which is also okay. Now, how about one more example? All right, we have Kurt Vonnegut, one of my favorite authors of all time, if not my utmost favorite. If you haven't read Cat's Cradle or Slaughterhouse-Five, you definitely need to make time for those, after you're done studying BCom. We have a run-on sentence here at the top. Kurt Vonnegut created the character of Billy Pilgrim. He also created Kilgore Trout. As I mentioned a moment ago, we can correct that by turning the run-on into two separate sentences, as you see here in the corrected example. Kurt Vonnegut created the character of Billy Pilgrim, period. He also created Kilgore Trout. So sometimes we get a tendency to try to do too much in one sentence. It's okay to make multiple sentences. They're free. So to summarize here real quick, once we identify a run-on sentence, we can fix it by either adding a period between the clauses, creating two separate sentences. We could add a comma and a coordinator, but, and, or. Those are all common coordinators that can help fix a run-on sentence. Or we can add a semicolon between the two clauses. Again, I'm not a big semicolon guy. Maybe you're a big semicolon fan and you've got a semicolon t-shirt somewhere in your closet. I don't know. Just not my game. So, now that we know all about run-ons, and we'll never, ever, ever, ever make the mistake of putting a run-on sentence in our writing again, for our next video, we're going to turn our attention to another common sentence problem, the comma splice.